family secret was revealed during what was supposed to be a happy moment. For context, my family has always been super close-knit. My grandma Vera was turning 80 and we were throwing her this massive surprise party at my parents' house. Everyone was there. All my aunts, uncles, cousins, even relatives who'd flown in from across the country. The party was going great at first. We had this whole setup in the backyard with fairy lights and old photos of grandma throughout the years. My mom had spent weeks planning everything. Grandma was honestly so happy she kept crying and hugging everyone. About 2 hours into the party, when we were all sitting down for dinner, this woman shows up at the gate. Nobody recognized her at first. She was maybe in her 50s, well-dressed, not looking sketchy or anything. My dad went over to see what she wanted, thinking maybe she was from grandma's church or something. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but my dad's face went completely white, like scary white. He looked over at my grandma, then back at this woman, and you could just tell something was wrong. He called my Uncle Rob over, and they both started talking to this woman in hushed voices. My mom noticed something was up and went over too. By this point, everyone at the party was getting curious. My grandma was asking who was at the gate, and nobody would tell her. The woman was still standing there, and she kept looking at my grandma with this really intense expression. My cousin Daisy, who's always been nosy AF, went closer to try to hear what they were saying. When she came back to the table, she looked shocked and just whispered to me, "That woman says she's family." At this point, my Uncle Rob was getting really agitated, and I could hear him saying something like, "You can't just show up like this, and this isn't the time or place." The woman wasn't backing down though. She kept saying she had a right to be there. Eventually, my dad reluctantly brought her into the party and introduced her as an old family friend, but it was so awkward. Nobody believed that for a second. My grandma looked confused but was being polite. The woman, who said her name was Melissa, kept staring at my grandma and making these weird comments about family resemblances. The real drama started when Melissa mentioned something about the summer of '68, and my grandma dropped her glass. Like literally just let it fall from her hand and shatter on the patio. The look on her face, I've never seen someone look so terrified. My grandpa, who passed away a couple years before this, was in the Navy and apparently was away for most of 1968. I knew this because there were hardly any photos of him from that year in our family albums. As a kid, I never thought much of it. My Uncle Owen, who's usually super chill, suddenly stood up and told Melissa she needed to leave right now. My grandma was shaking, and my mom was trying to comfort her. Some of the older relatives were exchanging these looks that made it obvious they knew something the rest of us didn't. Melissa refused to leave and said something like, "I've waited 50 years for this moment and I'm not going anywhere." That's when my grandma just burst into tears. My dad tried to get all the younger family members to go inside, which obviously made us all want to stay even more. My cousin Trevor started filming on his phone, which was so inappropriate, but I'm low-key glad he did because otherwise I'd think I imagined the whole thing. What happened next was just chaos. My grandma, still crying, stood up and said, "I think it's time everyone knew the truth." The whole party went completely silent. Melissa stepped forward and said, "I'm Dorothy's daughter." Now Dorothy was my grandma's sister, who supposedly died in a car accident before I was born. We had photos of her around the house growing up. Grandma would get emotional on Dorothy's birthday every year. Except apparently Dorothy didn't die in a car accident. According to what came out at the party, Dorothy got pregnant out of wedlock in 1968, which was a huge scandal back then, especially in our religious family. My grandparents took her in to help her through a difficult time. The story our family had always been told was that Dorothy stayed with them for a few months, then moved away and died in an accident shortly after. But according to Melissa, the truth was that my grandparents pretended Dorothy died, but really sent her away to have the baby in secret. They arranged a private adoption without even telling Dorothy. When she woke up, told her the baby had died. Dorothy had a complete breakdown after that. She ended up in a psychiatric facility for years. She never really recovered and died by suicide when Melissa was in her 20s. Melissa only found out she was adopted when her adoptive parents died, and she found her original birth certificate among their papers.